In the early hours of the morning, devastating news has been dropped. Helldivers 2 has been removed from over 100 countries on Steam. This now means in those regions you cannot purchase the game. What this means for people that have actually bought the game in the regions already, we don't exactly know. We do believe they can still access the game as of the recording of this video, but maybe that access will be ultimately removed. We do know that one of the community managers did state that they are trying to work on a way to allow these players to keep playing. However, this is dire. It is an absolutely dire development for Helldivers 2. We've also got the CEO making a comment on Twitter, a rather cryptic comment, although I think it outlines his mental state at the moment as to what's been going on with the game, because it must be absolutely horrific being over at Arrowhead, seeing all of your good work essentially being undone by faceless corpos at Sony. So what is happening here? Well, we're not entirely sure who has issued this removal. Now, it could be Sony, it could be Steam. What is happening is Sony cannot sell a game in regions that they are going to revoke access to, because you cannot sign up a PSN account because it's not available in that region. So there is the chance that this is Steam retroactively, or well, maybe not even retroactively, actively, I guess is the word I'm looking for, coming in and just saying, right, we're not going to allow the game to be sold in these regions because, well, you're about to actually not let these players play in those regions. So we're about to get hit with a ton of refunds and we're not going to deal with that. Because the other component in all of this is, yes, while I'm sure Sony support, Arrowhead support are getting hammered, Valve and Steam support will also be getting hammered with people issuing refund requests and all of that stuff. Obviously, loads of negative reviews and all of that stuff, but it's mainly the refund requests that will be coming in. And Steam, it looks like, are refunding people if you simply say, look, I don't agree with what's going on with this game, refund me, or hey, I'm in a region now that the game's being bloody blocked in because I can't sign up a PSN, give me my money back, and Steam are like, okay. So it could be that Steam are going in and saying, right, we're not going to allow the game to be sold in these regions. Now, the other way of looking at this is it's Sony. And if it is Sony, this is the end. This is actually the end. This is the argument is over. It is finished. It is make a PSN account or go away. That's literally it. Because if Sony have now come in and said, right, we're removing the game from sale from these countries because obviously, you know, we're about to block them because they can't sign up PSN accounts. And there's been people saying just use a VPN. Yeah, sure, you can use a VPN. But in the terms of service for PSN, they can actually terminate your account if your account is activated with a VPN. So it's just insane. It's like there is literally no way around it. Even if you do get around the restrictions, they can still ban you for getting around the restrictions they put in place. It's actually insane. This is the biggest fumble I've ever seen. It is honestly insane. But I think the fact is, guys, if this is Sony, it's game over. If it's Steam, then it's, well, things are still to play for and things are still being discussed, but it doesn't look great, does it? Now, talking of things not looking great, this is the current review status of Helldivers 2. So it's got 331,000 positive reviews, but in the last 48 hours, this game has essentially gone down by 295,000 negative reviews. Now, sure, some of these reviews possibly were just, you know, people just didn't like the game, whatever. But obviously the majority of these are people coming in. It is the reaction from the PSN requirement, which, again, just to give a very quick, brief rundown of that, it is not simply because they're asking users on PC to just make a PSN account. It's the way it was handled, the way it was delivered. Well, you could buy the game on Steam. You didn't have to register a PSN account. 3 months go by, and then Sony come in and say, oh, by the way, make a PSN account, link it to Steam, or you can't play the game no more. That's the insanity of this situation, which gets even more ridiculous when they were selling the game in regions where you can't even make a PSN account. So what the hell is that? It is actually the biggest fumble I've ever seen in my entire, literally in my entire gaming career. It's actually insane, this is. Like, to go from what is basically over 300,000 positive reviews to essentially 300,000 negative reviews and have this massive negative backlash. It is completely justified, by the way, but it is insane. Like, all Sony had to do was nothing. They just had to sit there and go, no, it's nothing. But, you know, they wanted those, I guess, fresh accounts on their Q1 or Q2 earning reports to go, wow, well, look at this. We grew PSN by a shitload, yes. Instead, they've annihilated what was truly one of the great new IPs of this generation. So looking at Steam support here, we've got a screenshot, and this user said Sony has retroactively changed how the game works and forced legal agreements upon me I do not accept. And Steam have come in and gone, hey, your purchase has now been refunded. And look at this player, over 97 hours of game time. So Steam don't care about your game time for this. They don't care that it's over 3 months. If you want a refund, go and get a refund. It's the only thing that's really going to affect Sony, because like they don't care about anything. I mean, so you have to understand as well. There's been people out there saying, oh yeah, you know, let's boycott Sony. Sony is one of those companies that is just too big to fail. It isn't just PlayStation. It makes everything. Consumer electronics, software, movies. I can guarantee you most of the stuff you're watching on the TV, it's got some sort of Sony proprietary technology involved, whether that's cameras, editing software. There's just loads. You know, I'm probably using Sony software here without even realizing it, or hardware. You know, I've got my camera is Sony. You know what I mean? It's like Sony don't care. If they could literally just turn Helldivers off overnight, it don't matter. What will affect Sony is if it's causing brand damage to PlayStation, which is worth orders of magnitudes more than Helldivers 2. And that's what this whole thing of leaving negative reviews, refunding the game and all of that is an attempt to say, look, come on, just remove the PSN requirement. You don't need it. You don't need it, Sony, but come on, just stop being greedy and let this golden goose just keep laying its eggs. But they've basically just pulled its head off, and it's such a desperately sad situation. The CEO has just tweeted this literally as I was recording the video. Now, I can tell you right now, in this is very meta, but in this video, it's 10 a.m. This came out at, well, it's actually 10:16 a.m. This video came out at, this tweet, sorry, came out at 9:54 a.m. So literally just happened. This is CEO of Arrowhead, and this sort of gets us into, you know, his mental state and, you know, the morale, I guess, of the studio. He says, waking up to the sunshine of yesterday, replaced with a dreary drizzle and shivering winds, make me reflect on how I spent my time, those rare few moments when all was perfect, which, you know, that is literally before the last couple of days where everything was perfect. The game's on top of the world. They've just announced their next war bond. Everyone is like, wow, look at the weapons, look at the armor. They're getting hyped for that. And yet the very next morning, Sony dropped the PSN insanity. And it's just, I mean, to say they've torpedoed it, they ain't torpedoed it. I'll use an Aliens reference. They've fucking nuked this from orbit, to be sure. They have absolutely nuked it from orbit. It's insane. Johan goes on to say, yet the rain is essential to growth, and what changes spring into summer, I will just have to wait for sunshine to return. Now, that could be seen as an acceptance of defeat in a lot of ways, because, look, it's raining, we've just got to accept it. But, you know, there'll be better times ahead, so let's just try and focus on what we can control, which is making a good game, making, you know, good game updates, and hopefully players will come back to us and everything will be fine. I think that's the way I'm going to view it. I don't want to view it that way. I want it to be like, actually, no, we're still fighting for this. We're still going to try and get things sorted. Because the issue with this is it's just going way beyond gaming now. It's going into that sort of arena of it's consumers versus companies, and the way companies are treating consumers as just like idiots, basically. It's insane. It's actually insane, this is. Guys, I'm going to leave this video at that. I could go on and on and on and on about this, but again, we're still a developing situation, but as of right now, it doesn't look great. This looks like Sony are just doubling down on this. They've just removed, let's roll with the Sony narrative, they've removed all of these games from these countries from Steam, so you cannot buy the game in those countries. That's impacted countless amounts of players, but it's not just about those players, it's about the other players as well. It's about what Helldivers is meant to be. Helldivers is this massive community. We all fight together for the same objective. And, well, in the most horrific, I mean, it's almost funny, isn't it, really? Like, the horrific comedy of this insane irony, where they've just, oh my god. Guys, I'm out of here. This is insane. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. And, yeah, catch you guys in the next one. See you soon.